Traore corners American Oil Company CEO. Secret document in his pocket changes everything. The atmosphere in the meeting room in Burkina Faso's capital was electric. Ibrahim Traore silently stared at Robert Harrison, CEO of Texaco Global. The table between them lay documents that would change the oil agreement between the two countries. However, no one was aware of the secret document in Traore's pocket. As Harrison spoke with confidence, he didn't know that a single photograph would upset all the balances. Robert Harrison, 58 years old, was the third-generation CEO of Texaco Global. His $15,000 Italian suit, gold cufflinks, and Swiss watch clearly indicated which world he came from. The young African leader sitting across from him, with his plain military uniform and red beret, created a complete contrast. "Mr. President," said Harrison, placing his hands on the table, "this agreement is a historic opportunity for both your country and my company. A $15 billion investment package will make Burkina Faso the new oil center of Africa." Traore said nothing. He just listened. This silence was beginning to make Harrison uncomfortable. "Of course," Harrison continued, "this level of investment requires some guarantees. Relaxing your environmental regulations, revising your tax rates, standard procedures." "Standard?" Traore asked for the first time. His voice came out calm, but sharp. Harrison smiled. "Certainly. We apply the same conditions in all our African operations, in Chad, Niger, Angola. We've been successful everywhere." It was at that moment that a dangerous light appeared in Traore's eyes. "Did you say Niger, Mr. Harrison?" "Yes, our operations in Niger are very successful." Harrison's voice slowed. Something had changed in Traore's gaze. However, Traore didn't play his card yet. Instead, he changed the subject. $15 billion is a big figure, but what I'm really curious about is the benefits this investment will bring to the people of Burkina Faso. Harrison relaxed. This was the kind of question he knew. "Of course, employment for 50,000 people, infrastructure investments, technology transfer. We can double your country's GDP." "Interesting," said Traore. "You made the same promises in Chad, didn't you?" The first signs of discomfort began to appear on Harrison's face. "Chad is a different situation." "How different?" "I mean, political conditions, geographical circumstances." Harrison was stammering now. Traore slowly stood up and went to the window. Looking at the view of Ouagadougou, he spoke. "I received a very interesting phone call last night, Mr. Harrison. Guess from whom?" Harrison's heart began to race. "I don't know. From Niger's former Environment Minister Amadou Diallo." Traore turned and looked at Harrison. "He told me very interesting things about you." Now Harrison's face had turned pale. That man is not reliable. He was removed from office for political reasons." "Really?" Traore returned to his desk and took out a small envelope from the drawer. "Then how will you explain these photographs?" Harrison's breath caught. "What photographs?" But Traore didn't open the envelope yet. Instead, he continued to pressure Harrison. "First, tell me about your operations in Niger, especially about the oil extraction site in the Diffa region." We there. Everything was done according to the rules," Harrison stammered. "According to the rules?" Traore gently shook the envelope in his hand. "Then are these documents wrong?" Harrison was now completely panicked. "What documents? What do you have?" "Don't be impatient, Mr. Harrison. Everything will come out in due time." Traore placed the envelope on the table but didn't open it. "Now tell me your proposal again. This time I'll listen more carefully." Harrison was drenched in sweat. How much did the man across from him know about him? And what was really in that envelope? "Mr. President," said Harrison, trying to control his voice, "maybe there's a misunderstanding. If you have concerns about our operations in Niger..." "Concern?" Traore smiled, but it was a cold smile. "This is not a situation that can be described with the word concern, Mr. Harrison. Let me ask you a question. What happened in Niger's Difa region in 2019? Harrison's hands began to tremble. Some technical problems occurred. Technical problems? Traore took the envelope and slowly began to open it. The technical problems that caused 3,000 fish to die and 12 villages to lose access to water? That was an accident. An accident? Traore pulled out the first photograph from the envelope but didn't show it to Harrison. He just looked at it himself and shook his head. According to this photograph, it wasn't an accident. Harrison had now completely lost his control. Please, I want to see that photograph. What do you have about me? Don't rush, said Traore. Let's tell the rest of the story first. What happened after 2019? How much compensation did the Niger government pay you? Legal processes were completed. $500 million, said Traore. The Niger government paid you $500 million in compensation for your faulty operations. Interesting, isn't it? Harrison couldn't say anything anymore. He just stared at the envelope in Traore's hand. But what's really interesting, Traore continued, is how this compensation was obtained. Do some names sound familiar to you? Niger's former Vice President Marcel Boubacar, former Energy Minister Hassan Maiga. With each name, Harrison's face grew paler. Both are now in the U.S., living very comfortable lives. Actually, Boubacar's $12 million villa in Houston is very beautiful, and Maiga's yacht in Miami is fantastic. What are you trying to imply? Asked Harrison, his voice now like a whisper. I'm not implying, Mr. Harrison. I'm saying it clearly. Traore finally placed the photograph on the table. Here's the proof. The photograph showed Harrison himself dining with Niger's former officials at a restaurant. Open briefcases and stacks of money were visible on the table. As Harrison looked at the photograph, his world collapsed. Where was this found? What's important is not where I found it, said Traore. What's important is that this is just the beginning. He pulled out other documents from the envelope. Bank records, audio recordings, email correspondence. Everything is here. Harrison was now pleading desperately. Please. These documents must never be revealed. I'll give you whatever you want. What I want, Traore stood up. I don't want anything, Mr. Harrison. I just want the truth. What is the truth? The truth is this. Texaco Global deliberately caused an environmental disaster in Niger in 2019. Then, by bribing high-level officials of the Niger government, they received compensation for this disaster. And now they're trying to play the same game in Burkina Faso. Harrison tried one last time. But the evidence isn't sufficient. You can't prove it in court. Traore smiled. Who said we're going to court? I'm sending these documents to CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, and France 24 tomorrow morning. The whole world will see by afternoon. No, Harrison screamed. This will destroy me. It will destroy the company. Yes, said Traore calmly. It probably will. Harrison looked around desperately. What do you want? Money? A bigger deal? I don't want anything, said Traore. I just want you to leave my country and never come back. But the agreement, oil investments. What agreement? Traore took the documents on the table and tore them up. There's no agreement anymore. Harrison pleaded one last time. Please, if these documents are revealed, I won't be the only one who suffers. Thousands of employees will lose their jobs. Shareholders. In 2019, 50,000 people in Niger lost access to clean water, said Traore. Did you think about them? Harrison bowed his head. He understood that he had been defeated. 72 hours, said Traore. Remove all Texaco personnel from Burkina Faso. After 72 hours, these documents will be revealed to the public. Harrison stood up, his legs trembling. This isn't over. The American government will also see these documents, said Traore. Don't worry. As Harrison was leaving the room, Traore called after him. Mr. Harrison. Harrison turned around. Next time you come to Africa, remember, you won't find easy prey here anymore. 24 hours later, Robert Harrison was at an emergency board. Meeting at Texaco Global headquarters in Houston, he had the documents and photographs from Burkina Faso in his hands. "How serious is the situation?" asked Board Chairman William Stevens. "Very serious," said Harrison. "If these documents leak to the media, we'll experience the biggest scandal in company history. How secret can the Niger incident remain?" "It can't remain secret anymore. Traore has everything. Bank records, photographs, audio recordings." Stevens slammed the table. "How did this happen? How did security become so weak?" "I don't know, but it's too late now. Traore will reveal everything tomorrow." At that moment, the meeting room door opened and the company's legal counsel Jennifer Walsh rushed in. "Mr. Stevens, urgent. The SEC just called. The Burkina Faso government has filed an official complaint about our company. International bribery and environmental crimes." Stevens's face turned pale. "What does this mean?" "It means Traore isn't limiting himself to the media," said Walsh. "He's also starting legal proceedings." Harrison had collapsed now. "Everything is over." "Not yet," said Stevens. "We're starting an emergency PR campaign. We'll present the Niger incident as an environmental accident. We'll also explain the bribery allegations as normal business processes." But it was too late. That night, at exactly 9:01 p.m. Burkina Faso time, Ibrahim Traore appeared live on national television. "My fellow citizens," he began, "today we protected our country from a great danger. American oil giant Texaco Global was planning to create an environmental disaster in our country." Then he showed the photographs taken with Harrison, images of the environmental disaster in Niger, and the bribery documents one by one. "These documents," said Traore, "are clear evidence of how Texaco Global operates in Africa. First, they pollute the environment. Then they bribe local officials to escape responsibility." At the end of his speech, he added, "Burkina Faso is now closing its doors to such companies. Protecting our country's natural resources, environment, and people is our priority." International media immediately picked up the story. Headlines like Texaco Global Scandal, Africa's Bribery Uprising, Traore'S Victory appeared in the world press. A week later, the Senate Environmental Affairs Committee in Washington, D.C. launched an investigation into Texaco Global. Robert Harrison was forced to testify before Congress. "Mr. Harrison," said Committee Chairman Senator Patricia Murphy, "is it true that you deliberately created environmental pollution during your operations in Niger?" Harrison, following his lawyer's advice, exercised his right to remain silent. "I exercise my right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment." "Is it true that you bribed officials of the Niger government?" "I exercise my right to remain silent." Every question was met with the same answer. But Senator Murphy's last question was different. "Mr. Harrison, how do you evaluate the courage of Burkina Faso President Ibrahim Traore?" This time, Harrison answered, "I can answer this question. That man destroyed my career." "Maybe it was a career that deserved to be destroyed," said Senator Murphy. 6 months later, Texaco Global's African operations had completely ended. The company had gone bankrupt due to heavy penalties from the SEC in various countries. Robert Harrison was awaiting trial in prison. In Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore announced a new energy policy, the Clean Energy Burkina Faso Project. By investing in solar and wind energy, they would free the country from oil dependency. The project was being implemented with clean technology companies from Denmark and Germany. This time the conditions were different. Technology transfer, local employment, environmental standards. "Energy independence doesn't come just from extracting oil," said Traore at the project's opening ceremony. "Real independence comes with clean and sustainable energy." At the ceremony, Niger's new environment, Minister Amadou Diallo was also present. After that phone conversation, Traore had supported him in cleaning up corruption in his country. "President Traore," said Diallo, "your courage inspires all of Africa. None of us are alone anymore." Indeed, it was so. Traore's exposure of the Texaco scandal had caused other African countries to take action against similar companies. Ghana, Nigeria, Angola. All were making new regulations, demanding stricter environmental and ethical standards from foreign companies. A year later, when Robert Harrison was released from prison, nothing remained of his old life. He had lost his house, his wife had left him, his children weren't speaking to him. Strangely, he wrote a letter to Burkina Faso. In the letter he sent to Ibrahim Traore, he wrote, "Dear President Traore, I know this letter I'm writing to you will seem strange. You destroyed my life. But now I understand that it was a life that deserved to be destroyed. For years, I had seen Africa as an exploitable continent. I had thought of its people, nature, and resources as tools that could be used only for profit. During the year I spent in prison, I thought about what I had done. The fish that died in Niger, the villages that were left without water, the children who got sick. I was responsible for all of them. What you did wasn't just punishing me, it was changing an entire system, and I thank you for that. Robert Harrison." After reading the letter, Traore showed it to his assistant Marie. "Are you going to reply to this letter?" asked Marie. "Yes," said Traore, "because real change begins when people admit their mistakes." Traore's reply was brief. "Mr. Harrison, thank you for your letter. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. If you are truly repentant, you can voluntarily support environmental projects in Africa. Everyone deserves a second chance. Ibrahim Traore." 2 years later, Robert Harrison was working as a volunteer on clean water projects in various African countries. He didn't have his former wealth, but for the first time in his life, he felt peaceful. One day, in a village in Niger where he was working, an elderly woman approached him. "You," said the woman, "aren't you the man from that oil company? The one who polluted our waters in 2019? Harrison bowed his head. "Yes, it was my fault." The woman looked at him for a while, then smiled. "Now you're cleaning our waters, this is good." At that moment, Harrison understood for the first time what real forgiveness meant. Today, Burkina Faso is one of Africa's cleanest energy-producing countries. Traore's Clean Energy Burkina Faso project is being modeled by 20 other African countries. The Texaco scandal didn't just end one company. It made foreign companies throughout Africa behave more ethically. And it all began with Ibrahim Traore courageously revealing the secret document in his pocket that day. Sometimes, one photograph is enough to tell the truth. But it takes great courage to reveal that photograph. Traore had shown that courage. And he had changed not just his country, but an entire continent.